All right, good afternoon from Winter Meetings, day one, Monday. Earlier this afternoon, Jeff Jones from the Belleville News Democrat, he covers the St. Louis Cardinals, he sent out a tweet, said, nugget from this morning, Pirates are monitoring the market around Jack Flaherty and are interested in bringing him on a shorter-term deal should he be unable to find a longer commitment. So, Jeff, really just quick question. Elaborate on that tweet a little bit. Really, what do you think the market is like for Jack Flaherty?
Yeah, I think when you look at Jack and sort of what the market is and that the Cardinals largely have set, frankly, these kind of like middle-of-the-road starters, right? So Lance Lynn was 1 year in 12. Kyle Gibson is 1 year in 12. Those are the sorts of deals that starters like that are getting right now. And so you look at a guy like Flaherty, who maybe his talent ceiling is above those guys, and a guy who is one of the youngest pitchers on the market at all, certainly the youngest starter, you would think it would be a longer deal. When you think about kind of the injury issues he's dealt with and maybe sort of looking for a bounce-back situation, a shorter deal maybe is where he ends up. And so, for any team, not just the Pirates, but for any team, I think the message to Flaherty at this point in the market is, if you can find someone who's going to give you 3 or 4 or 5 years, great, best of luck. But the question is that realistic? And maybe not, right? And so if you're the Pirates, maybe you feel like you're well positioned because, you have pitching coaches that are well respected. You have kind of some infrastructure around some of your guys that does get a lot of good notice around the league. And for Flaherty, a guy who came up through the NL Central, knows the city, obviously, but also knows the competition and knows the parks that he would pitch in. And so maybe that's an environment where he sees an opportunity to kind of rebuild himself going into whether that's next year or 2 years down the road.
Gotcha. I think a lot of Pirates fans, when they read the tweet, they took it in a context of like, the Pirates are interested in you, but only if no one else is. So it's not really quite that.
No, I wouldn't say it's that, right? And I understand, you cover the Cardinals, you kind of understand the reputation and kind of the way that teams work. The Pirates are the Pirates. It is what it is, right, in many cases. But in this case, I think it's more, if you can find Team X in your Jack Flaherty and you can get the deal that you want, okay. But if you're the Pirates, it doesn't make a lot of sense to jump on that. If we assume that they're operating with limited resources, whether or not they should be is a different question. But if we assume that they are, why would you want to be the team that sticks your neck out and gives him the multiple years at the big number if you think the market is not there for a guy like that, right? I think that's a reasonable way to do business if you're the Pirates and you're looking at Flaherty as whether it's rotation depth, maybe this is a guy who gives you 15 or 18 starts and becomes a trade piece, or maybe it's a guy where the fit is good and then it becomes a multi-year commitment. You don't have to do that in December if the market is not there for him yet.
No, that's a good point. And as Pirates fans, we're always curious on how the Cardinals are doing, what they're doing. They've had a busy offseason so far, signing 3 starting pitchers. What are you hearing the Cardinals are looking to do now that they've kind of shored up the rotation a little bit?
It was an interesting morning for us here because the Cardinals are pretty tight-lipped about most things. And then John Mozeliak popped out and then did his little run through the MLB Network media, the radio and TV before 9 o'clock this morning, and flat out said that they were looking to trade Tyler O'Neill, which is not a surprise, I think, to any of us that have been around the team. But it is certainly unusual to hear them say that so vocally. And so I would expect that to be one of the next, if not the next things they do. And then they're probably going to look at, what does the bullpen look like, right? Because they have some guys at the back end that I think they like, Helsley and Gallegos and Jojo Romero really stepped up at the end of the year. But the question is, what does that depth look like? And who are the guys who can pitch the 6th and 7th? Chris Stratton, who they traded at the deadline last year, was valuable for them because that was the guy who can get you 3, 4, 5 outs 3 or 4 times a week, whether you're ahead or whether you're behind. Obviously, Pirates fans know Chris Stratton, right? That's that. If nothing else, Chris Stratton will take the ball and he is competent and will give you good innings. So a guy like that is a guy who they maybe don't have right now, and that's the kind of thing that they might look to add.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks a lot for chatting with us. Enjoy the rest of winter meetings, and appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
Thanks.